Good evening and welcome to the Sound of Her Name, a 5-part interview series celebrating WSND-FM's 50 years of service to the Notre Dame and South Bend communities. 50 years after our first FM broadcast, we here at the Sound of Notre Dame thought it appropriate to examine what it means to be the over-the-air voice of Our Lady's University. In other words, how the sound of her name inspires and challenges us in today's society. We turned to 5 of the university's most prominent faces to hear their perspectives on the mission of Notre Dame, and whether, as its founder, Father Edward Soren, hoped, it is truly becoming one of the most powerful forces for good in this country. We hope these conversations will not only inspire discussion and debate over the university's mission, outreach, and impact, but also enable us to kick off another 50 years of service from the tower of O'Shaughnessy Hall, under the watchful protection of Notre Dame, our mother. Today's program features Mike Brey, head coach of the Notre Dame men's basketball program. At the helm of the Irish for the past 11 years, he was named Coach of the Year by the Associated Press this past season after leading his squad to another bid in the NCAA tournament, as well as a second-place finish in the ultra-competitive Big East Conference and a number 5 ranking in the end-of-season polls. We visited with him in his office in the Joyce Center, where he graciously gave us some of his time and his thoughts on what makes Notre Dame unique.
Let's get right down to it. What makes Notre Dame unique?
I think the people. I would start with the people, and I think one of the things that excites me, and I've been here 11 going on 12 years, is especially the student, the type of student I get to work with. My classroom size is 13 with my team, but the kind of young man that we get to work with here, it's kind of energizing to be around young people like that, and then certainly the people I work for, Jack Swarbrick, our athletic director, Father Jenkins, our president, and many of the people here. Over 11 years, you build a lot of relationships. It's a very, very special place because of the people.
As one of the more public faces of the university on national television a lot, you're obviously identified with the university in a way that not very many people are. How can you speak a little bit about how the general character and the mission of the university affects the way that Notre Dame basketball is run in maybe a different way than it might be at another school?
I thought you were going to say I was identified because I don't wear a tie, but that's a whole other story. I think I've always said I am honored on a daily basis still after 11 years to represent this very, very special university, an amazingly powerful university. The brand of this place, Notre Dame, has certainly made me better over my 11 years. But we're very proud to represent, as far as men's basketball, a mission here of the true student athlete, a young man who has to compete in the classroom as much as he will have to compete on the basketball court. A program that follows the rules and I think does it the right way. Sometimes in a climate of men's college basketball that can be a little edgy at times. I think people have enjoyed rooting for us because of how we built the program. But our mission is clear. I'm a firm believer in the mission, and I'm a firm believer that within the mission of the university, we can be very successful in basketball. We do not have to negotiate down any of our standards to be a competitive basketball program. So, and I take being out there in public as that I'm an ambassador for the university, and representing the university and our program and everything the right way.
Well, since you bring it up, can you give us a quick explanation of why the turtleneck look and no tie?
It certainly wasn't a deep fashion statement as people thought when I first got here, but when I coached at Delaware, you rode the bus a lot to games, and it was 4 and 5 hour bus rides. And I finally, in my second year, said, after coaching in Boston and busing all the way back to Newark, Delaware, I'm certainly not going to wear a shirt and tie. So it was all for comfort, and now it's superstition and karma. I'm afraid to change it.
When we think about Notre Dame, as you mentioned, kind of a powerful brand in the 21st century, what do you think, how can you define the mission of Notre Dame? What does it have to offer to America in the 21st century and to the world?
I think the young person that comes out of here is so well-rounded. I also think the young person that comes out of here, even though it's a great school and we have some amazingly talented students, they're very down-to-earth and real people. You can reach out and touch them. They can relate and communicate with all walks of life. I think our whole, idea of service to others that is continually stressed when you're a student here and an employee here is very powerful and very helpful, especially for the young people for later in their life.
One of the quotes that is brought up sometimes when talking about the aspirational goals of the university is Father Soren's quote that he hopes that the university becomes one of the most powerful means of doing good in this country. How does the fact that the Notre Dame is a Catholic university, its Catholic tradition, help shape that message and that mission and help determine what the Fighting Irish are going to be fighting for?
Well, certainly the Catholicity of this place is a strong part of things. And it's interesting with my basketball team because half of our players are Catholic, the other half are Christian. They're not Catholic. We got some Baptists, we got some Protestants, but we do a game day mass. And those Protestants pause and reflect and take time to thank and understand where they are as much as the true Catholics do. And I thought that's been an interesting element of our basketball program and certainly this university. I think the whole theme that's here every day, and you can feel it, of pursuing your faith, and it's not jammed down your throat, but it's there, I think really helps a young person become more well-rounded.
When you think about the seniors on your team going out into the world, people like, all the way from Tom Kopko to Ben Hansbrough, think about the seniors who are graduating this year. What's one piece of advice that you hope they take away from being here at Notre Dame? Well,
I would think the camaraderie and the deep relationships and the teamwork, and not just the basketball team, the teamwork that this university embodies, and the togetherness and the pride of being a Notre Dame graduate and now becoming a Notre Dame alum, and to understand what we talked to him about in recruiting him, to now use the network, because our network runs deep, and I've not seen any network at any university be so passionate about its place and their people. But I think there's certainly a lot of pride with our 3 graduating seniors.
When you think back about the 11 years you spent here at Notre Dame, is there a certain memory that you really feel encapsulates the spirit of Notre Dame for you, or is it hard to pick out just one?
It's probably hard to pick out just one now over 11 years, but I find myself when I'm driving across campus and I glance over at the dome, or I'm walking across campus, you pause for a second. In the off season, I get a chance to pause a little bit more, and the snow's not as deep either. And I think you really just step back a little bit, and you're very, very thankful that you've been associated with this. I'm very, very proud to be called the coach at Notre Dame. That's Notre Dame's coach. That's a powerful introduction when I'm introduced or when I travel around. And again, even after 11 years, it still amazes me the doors it opens and the connections it provides.
All right, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today, and best of luck with everything in the offseason.
Thank you.
Next year.
Thank you, and go Irish.
Today's program was produced and edited by myself. Special thanks to Coach Brey, Stephanie Reed, and the staff of the Notre Dame men's basketball program. Tune in tomorrow to hear the next conversation in our series. We'll be speaking with Father Tom Doyle, Vice President for Student Affairs here at Notre Dame. This program and all episodes of The Sound of Her Name can be found via our website, www.nd.edu/WSND. Also available for download on our podcast. Just look on iTunes and search WSND, or visit our YouTube account, youtube.com/WSND-FM. For all of us here at the Sound of Notre Dame, I'm your host, Patrick Brown, saying see you next time, and as always, go Irish.